people are victims. I mean, you were a victim of harm. And so what do you
For me, if the victim was still believing that whatever he's doing, was I deserving of it? And becoming that survivor is saying, no more. No, this is not right. You will not treat me like this. So that's when I switched to being a survivor.
Hey everyone, let's start healing. I'm Adrienne Murchison, and welcome to episode 166 of the Let's Start Healing podcast. We have more in common than we think, and what we have in common can change the world. Well, my guest today is changing the world. Her name is Teresa Edwards. She is a returning guest. She was on episode 107, and she is a very powerful woman. She is, gosh, she's an entrepreneur. She's a theater producer. She's a businesswoman as well, but she's a theater producer. She's a podcaster. She has a production company. She's an author. She just wrote a book, and it's not her first book. And she's here to talk about her latest book, which is a compilation of contributors who are talking about how they overcame their trauma. And Teresa actually includes her own story in this book. It's titled Unbreakable, a survivor's testimony, a powerful collection of stories that journey from trauma to triumph. And she is going to talk a little bit about this book and a little more about herself. And if you look for this book, the author's name will say T.S. Edwards, and she is Teresa Edwards. And Teresa, a very, very deep woman, a very passionate woman, and she always has something percolating in her brain to do, in her mind to do something creative. She has staged plays. She staged a play around fathers trying to connect with their sons. She and her husband have a producing company called Mizz Entertainment. She is co-founder of this company, and she interviews artists, and she actually interviewed me about a year or so ago. I mentioned that she was on a previous episode 107, and on that episode she shared some trauma that she had experienced in her life and how she came through it and how she decided, that she was no longer going to be a victim. And she shares actually some of that through another experience in this episode. Teresa is a Air Force veteran. She served for 21 years, and she also earned an MBA from Kennesaw State University. So there is just so many dynamics to this beautiful woman, and I am so excited about you getting reacquainted with her. If you saw her on episode 107, which I will put a link to that in the show notes. But if you are just meeting her for the first time, I'm happy that you get to experience her. So let's meet her. Let's get started, and let's start healing. Welcome, Teresa.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, I'm excited about your new book.
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you for being here. And is your book published already? Is it already out?
Yes, ma'am. I published it on January 1st, symbolizing a new start.
Wow. And congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
What
you.
what's the name of your book?
Unbreakable, a survivor's testimony.
And this is a memoir.
It's a collection of powerful stories from, my story is in there, and then I got stories from other authors slash friends, and they included their stories. And what we're talking about is, coming across some kind of trauma or traumatic event, and how they triumph through that.
Wow. And so I want to get into your story. Obviously, you've been on here before, but maybe some folks didn't see or listen to that episode. So I want to get into your story. But first, share some of the, um, just briefly touch on some of the other experiences that are discussed by the contributors.
The contributors, couple of sexual abuse is there's a contributor that discovered he had it was discovered he had a brain tumor, and how he navigated through that with his faith. There's another one that just got in some trouble, but then had to humble himself and come back, and fall on his knees and then ask God, like, what do you want me to do? You
Hmm.
know. So, and then just another contributor, just how life be life in some time, and she had lost her job, and how she navigated through that and not losing her house. And like I said, it's just a lot of just powerful stories, and it's really to because we tend to, when we're going through stuff, and I don't know about everybody else but myself, you tend to think that you're by yourself, and this book is to show that you are not alone.
Right.
If we just of course keep God first, but then rally around those that truly support us, we can get through it.
Right. Right. So
Yeah.
you have men and women in the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what inspired you to want to write a book this way versus a memoir, or do you already have a memoir out?
I do. I have a memoir out, Articles of Life, just going through different aspects and pivotal moments in my life. Now, to back it up, this was originally was going to be a show, web series, and we shot the pilot, and it just I don't know, it just something was just saying it's not right, it's not time. So this was years ago, and I sat on it for a couple of years. um, I was sitting in this inspirational type of seminar, and I felt that God just spoke to me about this book, because I said, okay, maybe I should turn it into a book and I just talk about more of my stories. But I had a clear voice, just as clear as day. I'm sitting up there, engaged in the presentation, and all of a sudden, it came to me like, no, tell your story, but involve others. So
Mhm.
then this can just be that foundation of letting folks know you're not alone. And I had, it's like a just clear as day. I heard that.
Yeah.
And after that, I came back and I hit a couple of my friends, and I was like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Do you trust me to tell your story? Or, trust me with your story? And it's like, yes, yes, yes. And some of them, I still got some for a volume two, because I couldn't make I wanted it to come out at a certain time. Sometimes folks,
Yeah.
again, life be life. And so I
Yeah.
said, hey, I got you next go round. But this one here, as just these are the folks that's ready to tell their
Yeah.
story. And I let them tell the story. I didn't change it, maybe just for its grammar or whatever, but I wanted to be in their voice. That was very important
Right.
for them to tell it the way they felt like it is in their heart to tell.
Yeah, and I wanna say, just as, encouragement going forward, because I know how powerful that can be. And I was in a, book series of contributing authors, and this person, she publishes a new book every year. And so, and it's all women who something. So I was in this book called Women Who Inspire. And she
Nice.
has another one called Women Who Empower. It's all kind of women who something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very successful. It's been a very successful brand for this person. And I'm just thinking about her as I think about you. This is really powerful, especially, I mean, not that it has to all be around trauma, but trauma is something that a lot of people don't, really go into, that deeply.
Right.
So you've already said that you already have some stories that are ready for the next
Yes.
publication. So it just
Yes.
seems like that could be a real powerhouse for you among the other many things you're doing.
Yes. Because I think stress is a killer. And one, for me, writing is therapeutic, and it just helps kind of navigate and work through that. Just putting it out there, and then what it is, let it be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And even for my contributor, same thing, just to put that out there and let people know that you're not alone. This is what happened to me. You can get through it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
That's so important to me as well. And so, what aspect of your story did you share in this book?
My aspect of this one here is when I had that epiphany that I was no longer a victim, but I am a survivor. And I was talking about a traumatic marriage that I went through, abusive marriage, and that pivotal moment where it's like, I am no longer going to be your victim. I am going to survive, and I'm going to thrive despite whatever all this trauma that you're trying to bring to me. And that was my turning point, and I just talked about that actual moment where I decided, because how they say people, you can only help people when they're ready to be helped. So when you get tired of being sick and tired, when you get
Yeah.
sick and tired of being sick and tired, then you're ready. And that's what it was. And I shared that story.
And was that physical or emotional or both?
It was physical, emotional, and sexual.
By your first husband?
What? No, by ex-husband. I've been married a couple of times.
By an ex-husband.
Yeah, it was by
Yeah.
my daughter's father.
Do you remember what brought you to the point? Do you think about what brought you to that point where you were able to have the strength to get out of that situation or find a way to get out of that situation versus a year before, a month before, a week before?
I saw where it was going, and it wasn't going to end well. It was going to end with somebody not being on this earth anymore, and I don't want to have that a part of my daughter's, um, story. So
Mhm.
it's like I have to do something. I have to do something. She can't grow up in this environment believing that this is okay, and breaking that
Right.
cycle, because my mother, she was in a more of a mental abusive relationship, and it just, I was like, I can't allow this to go further. And then like my grandmother, even though she didn't go into detail, but just the pain you can see in her, that she went through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So I wanted to break the cycle, because I do not want that to move forward in this, in my generation of women.
Yeah. And was this how many years ago was this?
Oh no, this was some years ago. This was we divorced back in 93 or 94, somewhere around
Mm.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's still like like it was yesterday.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
wondering about healing. Do you find that some things still come up for you around some of the trauma that you experienced, or do you feel like you're way down the road in terms of healing?
I believe I am still on. I think healing is a continuous thing. I don't, because of we being human and just life.
Mhm.
So I am in therapy. Um, and I believe, just like I said, just talking about it and having someone to really give you that non bias, um, I guess, advice
Mhm.
was pivotal, because it was just the anger still sometimes when you see something that's like, hey, wait a minute, I think I've seen this before, even though it's not.
Yeah.
But you automatically, you already get your defensive up. And it's like, no, we
Yeah.
can't do that too,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had to, make sure that even though I felt I was no longer a victim, but I still needed that coach to keep me going. That's what I
Mhm.
call therapists. It's like, because your brain is a muscle too, and sometimes you
Mhm.
need that coach, just like when you go to the gym, you
Yeah.
need that person just to help you just work things out, and that's where we are.
Yeah. And
Yes.
and when you say no longer a victim, what do you mean when you say victim? And I'm asking because I I was thinking about that word maybe about a week ago because there's a connotation to that word. And I
Yes.
mean, people are victims. I mean, you were a victim of harm. And so what do you
For me, the victim was still believing that whatever he's doing, was I deserving of it? And becoming that survivor is saying, no more. No, this is not right. You will not treat me like this. So that's when I switched to being a survivor.
yeah.
That that's talking to myself is like, I don't deserve this. I didn't do anything to deserve any of this.
Mhm.
And that's what I mean for me, my
Yeah,
definition of victim, because
right.
I'm believing in all that garbage that he's spilling and doing. I'm believing, so maybe I deserve this. Maybe I did. If I'd have done this better, and it's never going to be a better. It's just something in him
Right.
that he has to deal with.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about me. It's about whatever his journey is to fix all that. So
Right.
when I decided in my head that it is not me,
Mhm.
then I was no longer a victim of his circumstance. I became a survivor of mine.
Right. And you've had a lot of trauma even before that your marriage,
Yes.
right?
Yep. So
Yeah.
that's why that it was easy for him to come in and, you know, because I felt like I had like that little little mark on your head,
Mhm.
Sometimes they can tell
Right.
who they can get over, do all that stuff to
Mhm.
because of your own self-esteem. You're still struggling with all your other past trauma.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and then you think that okay, well maybe this is the way life is supposed to be.
Mhm.
Yes.
Do you have any tools that help you or helped you as you were starting to heal that may be beneficial to other people who find themselves in that situation, or maybe they are out of the situation, but they still feel raw and vulnerable?
For me, it was journaling because I used to. Um, I had my daughter's baby book. Every year, I used to write whatever it is going on in my life, and just so because my mom passed when I was young, and I always was scared that I would pass before she was old enough to truly walk into her womanhood. So I wanted her to, even if I'm gone, she have something that she can see what was going on with her mother.
Mhm.
So that really helped. And then going back and reading that, because reading that's like, whoo, I was going through it.
Yeah.
And then celebrating because I've gone through it and I'm on the other side.
Right.
That celebration.
And
That's the key.
celebrating yourself.
Celebrating yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And you are very creative. You've staged plays, and have you staged your story?
No, I have a friend, and he keeps pushing me to write a stage play on my story. And I was like, where I'm struggling is where do I even start? And then just to, I don't know if to watch my story, play out what that would do to me. So I have
Mhm.
not gotten there yet. But
Maybe it's you're telling the story from a place of strength, and you're showing different aspects of yourself. Maybe it's more than one actor that is playing you on stage.
true, very true. So I'm gonna think about that one.
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I am getting close to that. I
Yeah.
really am. But yeah, he has been pushing me and pushing me. You need to tell your story, and I was like, I'm telling my story in books. But yeah, just to put it right there in your face, it's like, whoo, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot, which I mean, to share. It's a lot to share that would be powerful.
Yes.
I was asking someone, we were not talking about their trauma necessarily, but I was asking someone what they had learned about themselves, and they said, uh, one thing they learned is they're still here,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that was pretty powerful. I'm still here.
Because I always say I shouldn't be here. And the reason why I say that is because so many different things have happened that I knew it was only God that had his hands around me to keeping me safe. You
Mhm.
know, that I found myself could have been in a situation to be trafficked. And as a kid, not just I'm already struggling with my own trauma. And you just found myself in a bad situation that it was the grace of God that I got out of that.
It was about to happen.
Yeah.
And share that story again if you don't mind.
Well, this one I've never shared.
Okay.
But
If you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable.
I was probably about 13, and um, my friend, she had this guy, he was a grown man. He was in his 20s, and she got me to go with her. We told each other's parents that we were going over each other's house, and he picked us up around the corner. He had a friend, and that was the guy that I was supposed to be with. And me just having that mindset of whatever a man wants to do to you, that's what you just do. And like I said, these were grown men. They was in their 20s, late
Mhm.
20s. They knew exactly how old we were. And then the one guy, her boyfriend, he wanted to be with me too. And I ended up going back with him. And then it's like something in me, I was like, you need to not do this again. And he wanted me to keep coming. And I was like, I just would never, I stopped. Something in my head just said, no, don't go. Do
Mhm.
not go. So, because I felt that I was getting ready to get passed around, you
Wow.
know.
Did she
So
go?
I have no idea. We stopped being friends. Like I said,
Mhm.
it was just so much that was going on in my head. So
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then we moved not long after that, which was
Mhm.
another, I guess, to me, miracle because that kept me out of that.
Yeah.
That kept me out of it. We moved not too long after that, where I went to a whole different school. Nobody knew none of that.
Yeah. And, you kind of, brought something up in my own mind about, uh, being able to say no, because I think, like for me, I experienced, some sexual abuse as a child, and growing up as an adult, I there was something in me that thought, "Oh, I can't say no."
Mm-hmm.
Now there might be, I've never been beaten or anything like that. So if somebody tried to beat me, then that's a line that, I mean, there's some things I know, oh, don't subject myself to, or is not, cannot happen. But that wasn't one of them. There was something in me that felt like I uh couldn't say no,
I agree.
you know,
I'm totally there.
which is
It,
really interesting. Yeah.
it just circumstance happened where I was. It wasn't what I was saying no. I just tried to hide, so that was my way of saying no.
Mhm.
You know. So if I don't
Mhm.
have to deal with you, then I've always been a runner.
Yeah.
And I always was. So that was my way of saying no because I it's something in me saying that this is not going to end well.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
not helping you.
Mhm.
So yeah, and when you're in your teenage and then already been through sexual abuses, it's just like I always say that just my headspace was not in the best place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But it's been a constant evolvement. You were
yeah,
a teenager then, and then you got married, and you've done a lot of work, I know, on
a
yourself.
lot of self work.
Mhm.
Um, because sometimes because I think I've been in therapy now for the past couple of years, but I kind of really kind of shied away from it because I was always, as I always joke, that's like if they really knew what was going on, they'd lock me up. They'll put me in a padded room and won't let me out. But it was more of just continuing to say those aspirations, it's like that old saying, "Fake it till you make it."
Mhm.
And whether I believed it or not at that moment, I kept saying it till I did believe it.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. You said if they knew, they would lock you up because of where your mind space was when you were
yes,
talking to them?
yeah. And for
Mhm,
talking to, because I was not in a good space, because I
mhm,
know I was on the edge of suicidal, because
mhm,
I had those thoughts. So
mhm.
and I know that that's a trigger, and they'd be ready to. And it's like I have those thoughts, but I'm not there where I'm really going to do anything because I had a daughter at that time. And it's like I can do what I want to in my life, but I have no right to ruin hers. So
Mhm.
as long as she was here, I'm going to be here.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, so how much of a factor has your relationship with God been in this whole process and helping you to heal?
I always say that that old, I don't know. I used to see it as a kid, where the footprints in the sand.
Mhm.
And when you see it's just one set of footprints, and that's God carrying you. So I know that I had quite a few of those because it's just He has been a major part in my life that I had to have. It's got to be somebody because it's just no way that I should be here.
Yeah.
So it's like He's always going to be a major part in my life.
Mhm.
Yes, and even when I do my shows, that's how I end my shows. All my shows is like, love one another, um, take care of each other, keep God first.
Yeah. When you
Yeah,
saying when you in your podcast, where when you in your plays or
all of it.
Mhm.
Any show that I'm doing and I'm hosting or doing a
Yeah,
podcast, yes, that's how I
yeah,
end it.
yeah.
Keep God first. That's the last thing I say.
Can you share a little bit about your relationship with God? Do you have a spiritual practice, or is there like, do you communicate, in your thoughts and prayers or through your journals, or how do you
Through,
have that interaction?
through my journals and thoughts and prayers, I
Mhm.
said we have a special relationship because I talk to God like I'm talking to you.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my boy. It's like He knows my heart. so so we have that relationship, and I always say He has a sense of humor because you have to be very specific when you asking Him for stuff. Because He's like, well, that's what you asked. I say, yeah, but God, but I ain't want all that. And then that's how we talk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So He's like, well, next time be specific of what you want. I got
Mhm.
you.
Do you have um, a special gift, a superpower that you feel is very divine that God gave you?
I think of inspiring others. Because I got another book that's getting ready to be released soon called Check Your Truth. And it's really about those moments where you you have to check to see if you're really feeling what you're feeling or it's just emotions. And then just really kind of, really facing up with those things. Like for instance, I had a young lady who was talking about how she was comparing her life to someone else's. It's like your path is your path.
Mhm.
You cannot compare your path to somebody else. God has His, whatever He has for you is going to be just for you. Stop looking over the fence and just keep your eyes straight. There's a reason why that the rearview mirror is small. Keep looking forward, and then just having that inspiration. Cause she's like, yeah, I know. It's like, okay, now. It's like, and then we get real. It's like you can't just sit. You gotta keep moving. You gotta keep moving forward. Even if it's something small, at least you're moving.
I say the
Progress is not something fast.
Yeah. I
It's
say the
movement.
exact same thing, just keep moving.
Keep moving.
And yeah, even in my own, uh, times that if I'm down, if I feel stuck, I still just try to do the little things and will appreciate, well, today I did this, you
Yes,
know, and just appreciate the little things that keep you going in forward motion.
yes. Just the fact that you woke up and you was breathing on your own, that's major, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So just celebrate the small things. It doesn't have to be something huge. Says who?
What do you do to inspire yourself beyond journaling? What do you do, to pick yourself up?
I know it's gonna sound crazy, but investing in others.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
when they thrive, it gives me a sense of almost purpose. It's like, yes, okay, because I
Yeah.
put more in that. That just helps me. That light and other, I wrote an article where sometimes we get all in so much into our stuff that we not realizing that there's other people that's going through stuff. And
Mhm.
then just taking that time to set your crap to the side and invest in someone else, that is priceless.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
priceless.
Just knowing that it's not just about us.
It's not about just
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Well, I usually ask, and I know you've shared before about like a huge miracle or blessing, and I'm wondering if there's something in recent months or over the last year, a miracle that or a big blessing that took place in your life where you said, "This is God, and I just didn't have anything to do with this taking place."
I would say it's going to sound kind of crazy, but I was laid off from my job back in July, and I it I know I needed to move on
Mhm.
because the stress was unreal, but that that little thing is not a little thing, but it just gave me that breather, and that breather gave me the opportunity to now get ready to have launch even another book. So so yeah, I would say that was the latest.
Yeah.
That was the latest. Just giving me that breather so I can just truly sit back and just really focus on what's really important,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, you said stress is real, like, have you felt a lot of stress?
Oh yeah, because when I'm with you, I'm 200%. Even with job, I'm all in. And so, but I'm loyal to you. I'm loyal to folks, but not all. You don't always get that loyalty back, and that's what becomes stressful. And,
Yeah.
and my body reacts because then it starts swelling up. And we start retaining water. My ankles swell up like they some tree trunks. And
Yeah.
then you can hear comes the doctor bills. So it's just crazy. So yeah, stress is real.
Yeah, I swear to God, well, I find that we are so similar, like, the things you say, I say to myself as well, and even stress, because the more stress I'm under, the later I stay up.
Yes.
So, I might not go to bed till, like, 3 or 4, and I
Hmm.
still have to get up early. That causes inflammation.
Yeah,
That stress is real. Yeah,
it is.
like you said.
I would say the when I got laid off, I think I slept for at least 2 weeks. I mean, I
Mm,
slept, and I don't do that like
yeah.
you. I'm always up. To my point, my husband was like, "Did you get some sleep?" I said, "Sleep is relative," but I slept, and I was like, I did not realize how much that job was stressing me.
Yeah, yeah.
I slept to the
Wow.
point where it's like, wait a minute now, I got to get up.
Mhm, mhm. And, share with people what you were doing.
In my jobs,
Yeah, or your background.
my
Your
background is a
professional
little bit of
background.
everything
Yeah.
because I'm retired military. I'm veteran of the Air Force. I've been in telecom, and then I went into technology. So I was my job. I was supporting. I was like a liaison. I was supporting different, I guess, internal customers into our digital operations center. So it's
Mhm.
making sure that whatever that they are, for is monitoring whatever that digital property
Yeah.
is the people that's watching the network know
Mhm.
exactly what happens because technology, something's gonna go left. That's just the
Yeah.
nature of the business,
Yeah.
and just making sure that the folks have what they need to either escalate or mitigate.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then I was there for is deep diving into getting the root cause analysis, so it doesn't happen again.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
with that, and then I was what we call a business resource group. So I was a lead. I was part of the national team for the Black B, what we short for BRG. So just
And
making sure, it's almost like a nonprofit within a company. So
yeah.
making sure that I know DEI is supposed to be a bad word, but just making sure that us of African descent are still feeling like we're valued within this
Mhm.
company.
Mhm.
So putting on events, getting, just all kind of things to bring us together to making sure that, because when you're on a job, you spend most of your time there than at home.
Right.
Because when you add in just travel time and all the other stuff, kids, by the time you get them into bed, it's time to go back to work.
Mhm.
So just making that joy, making the job enjoyable on
Yeah.
the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you still have your weekly podcast?
We have suspended that because outside of that, my husband and I, we have a production company.
Uh-huh.
So we have a recording studio, podcast studio, and a photo studio. So what I'm doing is turning the book into a podcast. So
Oh,
I
that's
will be
awesome.
having guests where they're actually talking about their, their trauma to triumph, and then just going through that process. And then I have an actual coach to just give them some nuggets and just some tools just to keep it going.
That is awesome.
So
That's
we're going to kick that off. I want it this month, but probably be the first of March where we truly kick that off.
okay. And so where can people look to see that they can keep up with when this will launch?
So the podcast and the other podcast that we have is on Terra Dome ENT on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put links in the description.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else? I mean, you have a lot that, you always have something going on. You always
I
have
know, right?
production. I love the idea of this book, and then, a podcast to accompany it. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of folks out there that needs that reassurance that they're not alone,
Mhm.
and just need that platform just to to tell their story.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
know, just
I
to tell their
agree.
story.
That's my inspiration for this podcast because of that. Just it's easy to think that you're by yourself.
Yes,
I can feel that tomorrow, but I've definitely felt like that in the past. And it's been
yes,
God, it's been me communicating with God and that whole relationship that has helped me to understand I'm not alone. Because even having, like, you're married or even having a tribe of friends, I mean, that is something that we have to understand from within, that we
yes.
are not alone.
hmm You have to be a friend for yourself before you can be a friend to anybody else.
Mhm.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Well, I so appreciate you and sharing about your new book. It's very exciting. And where can people get a copy?
Oh, that is on Amazon.
Okay.
Unbreakable: A Survivor's Testimony,
Okay.
and coming soon. Uh, Check your truth.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Please like this episode, share Let's Start Healing with at least one person that you know. Subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. And until next time, let's start healing.